Today we are comparing and ordering fractions. Students will compare and order fractions based on the size and the number of fractional parts. And you're going to compare and order fractions using number lines and fraction strips. Let's compare these fractions. The part shaded is on top. The bottom is the total. Is the first fraction less than, equal to, or greater than the second fraction? Well, being only one part shaded is absolutely less than 3 parts shaded. Which strip has a greater amount shaded? This has 3 parts shaded, this has 5 parts shaded. This is greater. 5/6 is greater than 3/6. Write a greater than or less than sign. 2 is less than 4/5. 3/4 is greater than 2/4. 6/10 is less than 9/10. 37/59 is greater than 27/59. How can we make this relationship correct? If 4 is greater than a number, my number needs to be less than 4. So 3 could be 2 or 1. Even 0. 7/10 is less than a variety of numbers, but let's choose 5. It could be 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Write any number in the blank that makes this relationship correct. 6/10 is greater than, let's say 3. 2/5 is less than 5. 1/2 is less than 2/2. 7/7 is greater than 1/7. Pretty straightforward. We can also order fractions using a number line. Start by marking each fraction on the number line. 0/6, 1/6, 2/6, etc. We need to order these 4 fractions from least to greatest. Well, 1/6 is definitely going to be the least, followed by 2/6. We've got 4/6 and 6/6 left. Well, 6 is definitely the greatest, and 4 will come before that. Use the number line to order the fractions. Draw an X for each fraction. We have 2/9, 7/9, 5/9, 8/9, 1/9, and 4/9. Now we simply rewrite it from left to right. 1/9, 2/9, 4/9, 5/9, 7/9, and 8/9. Same thing again. We have 5/5, 3/5, 0/5, and 2/5. You can write those left to right. 0/5, 2/5, 3/5, and 5/5. Write a fraction that is between the two fractions. You need to remember your number line here. 3/9, 4/9, 5/9, 6, 7, 8. So I could write any of these fractions. I'm just going to choose the one that's right next to it. 4/9. I'm going to do that same strategy here. Now I'm going to choose a number that's less than the biggest number. So 2/4 less than the biggest number, 7/10. But there is a variety of answers here. Can you order these fractions without a number line? Yes, I certainly can. If I start from least, I'm going to start with 1, then I go to 2, 4, 6. I'm going to add those denominators. Those don't change. What does the denominator 6 mean? It means there are 6 equal parts. Order the fractions from least to greatest. Again, I see a 1, I see a 2, I see a 4, I see a 5, a 7, and an 8. And then I'm going to add those denominators in. Now this might get me in a little trouble later, but because all of the denominators are the same, I can ignore them for a moment. Things are going to get a little more difficult right away. 0/5, 2/5, 3/5, and 5/5. Which of these fractions is the greatest? This is 1/4, 1/3, or 1/2. Looking at the actual amount shaded, I'm going to have to say 1/2 is the greatest. Are the strips the same length? Yes, the strips are the same length. Do they have the same number and size of parts? They have different number of parts. Interesting. 1/4, 1/3, 1/2. The more parts something is divided into, the smaller each part is. Think of a cake. If you got half that cake, that would be a lot. But if you only got an eighth, that would be a tiny little slice. The more parts something is divided into, the smaller each part is. Which fraction is greater, 1/4 or 1/9? I want a bigger piece of cake, so 1/4 is greater. You got to be greedy when it comes to math. Do you want 3/8 or do you want 3/5? I want 3/5 of a cake. That's a lot of cake. That's more than half of it. Write greater than or less than. Do you want 1/8 of a cake or 1/3? I want a third. Same question. Do you want half a cake or 1/10? I want half a cake. I am greedy. 1/5 or 1/4, it's close, but we do know that 1/4 is bigger than 1/5. 1/10 or 1/100th? Are you kidding me? 1/100th of a cake is nothing. It'd be a little piece of icing. Forget about it. I want a slice. 2/5 or 2/8. 7/20th? Are you kidding me? That'd be nothing. 6/12 or 6/16. I want 12ths. Bonus, definitely the 40. Write any number in the blank that makes the relationship correct. 1/10 is greater than 1/12. 3/7 is less than 3/5. 5/9 is greater than 5/20. 172 983rds is less than 172 over 172. Let's order fractions with the same numerator. Remember, numerator is the top number. If we take a look at these pictures, we have to shade in one of each. And then we're going to figure out what this is. This is 1/2. Okay, we'll start from the easy ones. This is going to be 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, and I bet you this is going to be 1/10. Order the fractions from greatest to least. Now we see the numerator is all the same, so I can just simply write that numerator without having to think about it. So all we need to think about is that denominator. Remember, if the denominator is small, that means it's a bigger piece. We want more cake. So the biggest cake of all is going to have the smallest numerator. Boom. 2 out of 2. That's a full cake. Then we're going to work our way up. 2/3, 2/4, 2/5, and 2/10. What does the numerator 2 mean? It means you get 2 pieces. We just don't know how big those pieces are. Order the fractions in part A from least to greatest, and the fractions in part B from greatest to least. So they're trying to trick you a little bit. Watch those signs. Least to greatest. The greatest is going to be the smallest. Remember, we can write those numerators because they don't change. This is going to be a 5. This is going to be an 11, an 18, and a 21. Now we have to write from greatest to least. 10 out of 10 is definitely the greatest. That's a whole cake. Then we go to 12, then 15, then 31. Name several fractions between 0 and 1/2, and then between 1/2 and 1. Pick any denominator. I'm just going to pick 3 and 4, and then we need to think about what's our numerator going to be. So over here, I can leave it as 1, right? Because this half is going to be more than 1/3. 1/3 is going to be more than 1/4. Now, if we get more than 1/2, we're going to have to change the numerator. 2/3 is going to be more than 1/2. 3/4 is going to be more than 1/2. We got 2 word problems, and then it's time for you to practice at home. Marla thinks that half a cake is equal to half of the moon, but Kathy doesn't think that's true. She explained why to her teacher, who said her explanation was correct. What was Kathy's explanation? The problem is the cake is not the same size as the moon. 1/2 the cake is definitely not the same size as 1/2 the moon, because the moon and the cake are not the same size. That's it for our booklets this week. If you want to try our bonus booklet on pictographs, go for it. Now it's time for you to practice at home. As always, if you have any questions, let me know and we can sit down digitally and work through it together.